What is going on, everybody? Skyline Akins here with you from the Southwest Missouri Sports Network, and it is football season, guys, and we are here to here on this Saturday, August 24th. Football's in the air. Jamborees wrapped up yesterday. We have got um we went to, we went to a couple jamborees in Sarcoxy. Checked out a lot of Southwest Conference squads. I think almost every Southwest Conference squad was in action either in Diamond or Sarcoxy, which was our two stops last night. Checked out a little bit of East Newton, checked out some Lebanon, checked out some Liberty, checked out some El Dorado Springs. We saw, I think we were up to 10 teams that we got to check out last night. On the camera, right behind you, or on the TV right behind the camera, we have Florida State and Georgia Tech live from Dublin, Ireland, as we are kicking off the college football season here in week 0. Florida State, looking good, looking the part of as the ACC favorite. They're still a little salty about getting left out of the college football playoff a year ago, and Georgia Tech's kind of taking it on the chin here early on. But we're not here to talk about college football. We may do something here in sometime next week of talking about college football, but this isn't it. Today we are talking Big 8 football for our Big 8 football preview, as we we're gonna start talking about some of these major conferences, moving forward. And the Big 8 was perhaps the toughest from top to bottom. In mid to small size schools, there's no doubt about it. It was the toughest conference from top to bottom, with 4 district titles, 1 state champion, 2 quarterfinalists, and a state runner-up, all in one conference. I mean, it is loaded. Looking through our last year's standings, Seneca, Mount Vernon finished the season 1-2. Seneca defeated Mount Vernon in the district championship game on a cold November night down in Seneca. I was there, and Seneca came out quick. Kind of gave Mount Vernon a gut punch and kind of held it to a 14-point lead. For the remainder of the game. But Seneca, district title, finished as the state runner-up in Class 2. After defeating Mount Vernon, who finished tied for or both finished 8-1 in the in regular season. District second place, district runner-up. Lamar won a district title in Class 2. That's not all. They also went on to end up winning a state championship. I know, surprise, surprise. Lamar wins another state championship. It's those two things kind of go hand in hand. Nevada was another district champion. They last year was kind of the year that they were ready for setting up for the last 5-6 years, and it didn't disappoint. State quarterfinalists 7-2. Reed Spring 6-3. Last season, McDonald County 5-4. They were a district champion. They went on kind of a magical run there at the end. Was a state quarterfinalist. Finished the season 5-4. So did Cassville and Aurora. Then Cassville defeated Aurora in their district game. Rogersville finished at 4-5. East Newton, Catholic, and Marshfield finished at 2-7. Monette and Hollister, well, they're just glad to flip the page to 2024, as they were winless last year. And, those are a couple teams. We're going to talk about one of them a little bit later on. Monette, they may have a few reasons to be excited for here in 2024. So this conference is, like I said, one of the best conferences in the in the country, or not in the country, in the state rather. I'm biased. I might even say they're one of the best in the country, but that's just me showing my Southwest Missouri bias. But the realignment bug, just like it's been affecting major college football, it is affecting Southwest Missouri football as well, as Georgia Tech's about to score and take a lead on Florida State here early or late in the first half. Wow, that's gonna be a crazy one. Anyway, the Big Eight doesn't welcome any new teams in, but they lost five squads. Hollister, Reed Springs, Springfield Catholic are all leaving the Big Eight for the Mid Lakes Conference. And Mid Lakes, we're gonna have their conference preview coming up here, if not later on today, maybe early tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get as many of these out as soon as possible. And then Marshfield Blue Jays and the Logan Rogersville Wildcats each going to the Ozark Mountain Conference, the newly formed Ozark Mountain Conference. But let's jump right into it. I mean, we got several teams to preview here. I don't have any rhyme or reason for starting it, where I'm starting, but I'm starting with in Aurora, where a 5-5 season or 5-5 year a season ago resulted in a 21-14 loss to Cassville in the first round of districts. But they it was kind of a tale of two seasons. For the Aurora Hound Dogs, they started out really struggling. They lost in shutout fashion in week 1 and week 3 against Mount Vernon and Seneca, 38-0 and 37-0. Sandwiched in between was a loss to Cassville week 2, 22-19. However, after that, they went on quite the run. I'm going to pull up some of these scores as we go along, because some of these scores were a little asinine. Being completely honest, after starting the season 0-3, they went on a run, 32-0 against Springfield Catholic, 62-7 against at Hollister, and then 35-0 against Marshfield before falling to a really good Reed Spring team. Then they continue their streak of 32, of scoring 32 points in a 32-7 win at East Newton before ending the season on senior night with a 15-13 win over Logan Rogersville before falling to Cassville 24-14 in the first round of the district tournament. So let's look at some of the returning starters. They're gonna have a lot to replace in the I apologize. My camera's getting ready to die, so I'm gonna step off camera for just 1 second as we take a quick commercial break. And we are back. I apologize about that, but I figured that taking a quick break right there would be better off than losing us completely. But anyway, back to the Hound Dogs. We the Dogs are they're gonna have to replace several pieces in the backfield from a year ago. There's several really big pieces. Jax Prater, was their leading runner a season ago. Add on, Justice Nickel as a running back. Jose Ibarra got some run. Evan Hartswagen, was a key change of pace back. Michael Barrientos was a big piece on the offensive line. So they got some replacing to do. to be as frank as possible. However, they're a very intriguing team, starting with last year's starting quarterback Thomas Laura, who will no longer be the quarterback as a junior. He's going to be moving to the running back, as they're going to hand the reins to the Ferrari off to yet another sophomore. It's going to be the fourth first-year quarterback in as many seasons for the Hound Dogs, as Sean Creasy. Sean Creasy is going to be a sophomore quarterback. He's athletic. I mean, he is all-state baseball player, very good basketball player, very good, very, very good, talented football player, has a really strong arm. You go out to a couple baseball games and you won't have to wait very long to notice his arm. And it translates to the football field as well. I went out to practice a couple days ago, and he was absolutely slinging it. So he's gonna be he may be one of those guys that's kind of laying low under the radar, but he's gonna be a key piece in the Aurora Hound Dogs this year. Clayton Jaramillo and Matthew Cutbirth is returning as running backs. Cutbirth, also an all-conference caliber linebacker. He's going to be doing a little bit of both. Jansen Hunt, as a fullback, is going to be doing we'll see some time there. And Jaramillo is also going to be the leading receiving option, along with Jaden Carpenter, senior tight end and defensive end. That he is just a monster. Big kid, athletic. Can get up and down the field. If Sean Creasy is able to figure things out and is able to find a little bit of success in the pass game, it's going to be to Jaden Carpenter. The offensive line returns 4 starters: Clayton Klein, an all-conference linebacker; Levi Garrett, Colton Wrinkle, and Lucas Hadlow, both returning to the point of attack. And this is a point of attack that's really been a strength for the Dogs for the last couple of years. I expect that to be be another strength for them, continuing this year. Let's look at some of the strengths for this team. Year 3 under Coach Pitts. Year 3 is oftentimes kind of when you start seeing that system really take root. As a Oklahoma football guy, I saw year 1 under Coach Venables. And I'm not saying Brandon Pitts is Brent Venables, but they saw plenty of struggles the first year, got better second year, and then poised for a breakout season year 3 that same scheme. That's kind of comes back to my next point. It's kind of a constant build. They're continuing to get better, and this could be the year that they finally start putting everything together. Some of the top questions I got from the Dogs are the veteran offensive line, 4 seniors. That's going to be a big strength for this team. This team's going to have to run the ball effectively. Thomas Laura is going to have to be efficient in his running, which I think he is more than capable of doing. It's just a matter of seeing it on Friday nights. Top questions: how do you replace 5 of the top 7 tacklers? This is a team that's lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball, especially on that defensive line. Lost a lot of size, and that's kind of the thing that I'm most concerned about with the Dogs. And Coach Pitts, the same. He was telling me that last year, they averaged close to 225 or so in the linebacker core, and this year we're gonna have one guy over 215. So that's gonna be we're gonna have to see how that plays out for the Dogs. A few games to watch. August the 30th against Mount Vernon, the Bell Bowl. The Bell Bowl, week 1. That's going to be a ton of fun against Mount Vernon. You never know how we'll talk about Mount Vernon here in just a little bit. Actually, I think we talk about Mount Vernon next. However, you never know how rivalry games are going to go, especially early on in the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Seneca, week 4, week 5. So that one's going to be a good one. And then, can they get the monkey off of their back? Cassville has had their number for several seasons now. I can't remember how long the streak goes back, but that's kind of been their kryptonite, the Cassville Wildcats. It looked like they were going to do it. Last year, week 2, in their 22-19 loss, but then the Cassville Wildcats have ended their season for the last 2 years, so that's gonna be one that and that's gonna be week 9. My predictions. This Aurora team has a tough road ahead of them at Mount Vernon, against Lafayette County, state runner-up Lafayette County, and at Lamar. I think those are 3 losses on the schedule. But then I think they're gonna have plenty of time to bounce back. I think that offensive line is gonna be really successful for them. I have them getting wins against Nevada, at Monette, Seneca, McDonald County, East Newton, and Cassville. They finally get that monkey off the back of Cassville to finish the regular season 6-3. We'll see how that lines up whenever we get to the very end of this. I'll tell you how I think this conference is going to wind up. But first, let's talk about this other team in Lawrence County, a team that has sky high expectations. The Mount Vernon Mountaineers. I'm telling you, this team was one of my favorite teams to watch a year ago. They were high flying, they're experienced, and guess what? They're all back. It's going to be a big year for the Mount Vernon Mountaineers. 10-2 a year ago. They 38-0 win over Aurora. To open up last season, and they started off the season 4-0 with wins over McDonald County, Monette, Aurora, and Logan Rogersville, before falling to Nevada 55-34, and then wrapped up the season 40-0 Catholic, 56-13 against Hollister, 56-21 against Marshfield, and 42-27 against Reed Spring, before going on a run in the postseason. 42-0 over Hollister, 45-13 over Reed Springs, and before falling to Seneca 49-21 in the district championship game. So, these Mount Vernon Mountaineers, let's see where to start with them. I think there's only one place you can start, and that's the returning quarterback Gavin Johnston. Threw for 2,600 yards, 26 touchdowns a year ago. Braden Dotson, 1,700-yard rusher with 23 touchdowns, and Jarrett Zerby going to be the number 1 option for them this season. So Jarrett Zerby, he's going to be taking a big step forward, after being kind of that 4th option behind Braxton Horton, Jake Leeper, and Ryder Damp a year ago. He's going to be that number 1 option. Julian Hernandez is going to have to step up, in that offensive, or in that receiving room. Hunter Conway, Bryce Rinker, going to have to, kind of take that next step. And, but after only graduating 7 players, this team is kind of poised to, take a big step next season. Looking at some of the team strengths, a prolific offense. They averaged 38.3 points per game last year. That is the best in the Tom Cox era. Tom Cox era that has seen plenty of success, and they have plenty of experience in several different, all over the field. My questions I have for them, no, they're gonna have to reload the defense. They lost a couple spots at linebacker, lost a couple of defensive backs. This Big Eight's gonna be a high flying league. You're gonna have to be ready to defend, that back seven, and so it's seeing how they come out and manage to reload that defense. And then the offensive and defensive line. You got a few returners there, but got some holes you're gonna have to fill. That's gonna be a key for concern there. Key to success, you're gonna have to run through your senior skill positions, and you're just gonna have to stay healthy. They ran into some injury issues. Zerby last year was poised for his big breakout season last year, but with a broken hand in week 2, Net was never able to really get going, and they struggled to recover after that. Games to watch: August 30th against Aurora. We already talked about how big the Bell Bowl is. The Mountaineers, they're out ready for it. They're out hungry for blood. After a big win last year against Aurora, 38-0, they're going to be looking to start the season off hot. But then a couple of really big games down the stretch. Only looking at 3 games to watch. Obviously at Seneca week 2 could be a good one, but we're going to go a little bit later in the year. As September 27th, as they travel to Lamar, in what's going to be an absolute, in the words of good old JR, an absolute slobber knocker. So that one's gonna be fun. And then October 18th against Nevada. My predictions for the Mount Vernon Mountaineers, and it's gonna be my predictions hold true. It should be a fun year for the Mountaineers. I predict wins against Aurora, Seneca, McDonald County, East Newton, Cassville, Parkview, Nevada, and Monette. But I missed one game at Lamar. I think that's going to be a toss-up. I think that's going to be a very, very, very tight game. But right now, I'm giving the edge to Mount Vernon to run the table 9-0. I know it's as much as I've been saying how difficult this conference is. I think they're going to run the table this year, and this is the Mountaineers' year to make that big jump, and hopefully end the season in Columbia. Next up, we're going back to a state champion from a year ago, the Lamar Tigers, 13-1 last season. Their only loss coming to the hands of Seneca, 28-14 earlier on in the season. And last 4 years have been absolutely magical for the Lamar Tigers. 50-5 record, 4 state championship appearances, winning 2 of them. I mean, you're talking about elite company with the Lamar Tigers. Looking at some of their key results from a year ago: 68-14 win over Marshfield, 28-14 loss against 13-1 Seneca, that we talked about. 49-21 win over McDonald County, ended up being a quarterfinalist. A 14-0 win over Nevada, who is a quarterfinalist. And then a 35-18 victory over an Adrian team in the district championship. Adrian finished the season 11-1. Lafayette County last year was 12-1 before 12-0 before running into Lamar. But Lamar, the Machine, Rage Against the Machine, was 41-7 win over Lafayette County. 47-16 win over at that point undefeated 13-0 Bowling Green in the semifinal game, before capping it off with an overtime victory over Valley Catholic, 35-28. So, How is the Lamar Tigers going to follow it up this year? Well, we'll just have to, it just starts with Alex Wilkerson, all-state defensive back and quarterback. He's one of the best two-way players in the entire state. He's an all-state defensive back, all-state quarterback. I mean, the offense is going to run through him, and run through him is going to be a very, very, very. I'm not just saying that lightly. Other key returners: Cooper Hahn and Carson Sturgill, both all-conference selections at the running back position. Trey Pitzenbarger, wide receiver, is going to be the guy to really target. That's going to see a lot of targets. Eli Hull was an all-conference on both the offensive and defensive line, along with Xavier Paquez, another offensive line all-conference selection, and a all-area selection. And linebacker TJ Ansley is going to lead the returning group for the Lamar Tigers. Some of the team's strengths: defense. And tell me if you've if you've heard me say this before. 4 years under Coach Beshore, they have never allowed more than 13 points per game in a season, and that's equaled to 12 shutouts in 55 games. I mean, this defense has been what Lamar football has been built on. It's gonna be good again as long as Coach Beshore is there. They are going to have a fan-flippin-tastic defense. And they're gonna have a lot of skill position returns turn as well. We already talked about a couple of the linemen that's coming back. All conference. All conference linemen. Returning your quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 linebackers, a lot of your couple of defensive backs, an all-state defensive back. And you're just gonna and the last strength is they have championship experience. We've talked about this senior class. I mean, they've played in 4 state championship games. They have won 2 of them. I mean, I will go on this rant, especially come basketball season with Stratford girls. It doesn't matter how good that group is. If they've been around a program with as much success as like Lamar Tigers have had, they're gonna be successful. They have no choice. They don't know anything different than to be successful. So I expect Lamar to have another fantastic year. A couple of questions: does the newcomers on the line struggle to mold together? And in all honesty, I mean, Lamar lost, I believe 8 other all-conference selections. I mean, at some point, the plug and play method, starts to struggle at some point. And then their defense is a little bit on the younger side, so we'll have to see, how they grow. But the key to their success is simple, easy peasy. Just keep doing what Lamar does. If you keep doing what Lamar does, you're going to have success. Some games to watch. Week 3 against Tipton. It should be a really good one. August, and then 2 weeks later, it's going to be that September 27th matchup against Mount Vernon before the calendar flips to October. And then you have Nevada and Aurora and Seneca. So that's going to be a tough stretch to end the season. But let's see how Southwest Missouri Sports thinks that they are going to do here. Wins against McDonald County, East Newton, Tipton, Cassville, Nevada, Monette, Aurora, and Seneca. If you're counting at home, that's 8 wins. And that game that we talked about with Mount Vernon, I think it's a toss-up. Right now, I'm giving the edge to the more experienced team in Mount Vernon Mountaineers. So I got to give Lamar the loss here. 8-1 is their prediction. However, I still think they're going to win a national championship. or a state championship rather. I think it's going to be much easier to win a state championship for Lamar than it is going to be to win a conference championship, which is absolutely crazy to think about. We're going to step aside for just a second. I know I've been talking a lot here. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. And we are back here on the Southwest Missouri Sports Podcast. We are previewing the Big Eight here. Already talked about Aurora, talked about Mount Vernon, talked about Lamar. Now let's go down to McDonald County, whose 8-5 season a year ago resulted in a state quarterfinalist appearance and a district championship. Some of the key results: 23-13 loss against Mount Vernon week 1 last year, a 28-6 win over Cassville, a 48-33 win over West Plains in the district semifinal game, which was kind of the first of their big upset run that they went on in the postseason. And then they kept it rolling, 40-21 win over Bolivar in the district championship game, making it to the quarterfinal round before ultimately falling to Jeff City 31-28, but a magical run for the Mustangs nonetheless a year ago. And they lost a lot. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They had a big senior class a year ago. Lost a bunch of it. They returned their all-conference running back, Malosi Sosef. He's just a strong running back, strong, powerful back. They bring back their star junior wide receiver, all-conference Breck Rubeck. He's a great route runner, very good high football IQ. You can run a little bit on both sides of the ball. Miguel Melendez was an all-area selection, offensive, defensive line, and junior Max Spurgeon is another returner, offensive, defensive line. So their team strength, they're going to have a two-headed rushing attack with Sosef and Adrian Short. Adrian Short's going to be kind of the lightning to the Sosef Thunder. So they're going to have to lean on that, on that 1-2 punch, because their quarterback, we'll get the quarterback position in the questions. We're just going to have to see. They lost their quarterback from a year ago, but they have history on their side. Matt County has consistently improved under head coach Kellen Hoover, and he has built their program from the ground up, and he looks to continue to build on it. Looking at their questions, quarterback Destin Dowd was tremendous in Matt County's run last year. It's going to be Anthony D'Amico and Ryder Martin. That's going to be in a competition here early on. I haven't got a chance to talk to Coach Hoover yet about their jamboree to see how they're, how he's feeling with their quarterback competition. Maybe I'll hear back from him here in a couple days. Returning talent, they only returned 9 starters from last year's quarterfinal team. And they got to find a way to replace Toby Moore. UNLV Rebel he was a big part of why they were able to go on their magical run against West Plains and Bolivar. The key to their success is to continue to build out the momentum from last season and pound the rock. The two-headed monster, the two-headed running back system can be extremely effective, but they have to be ready to use it. They're like I said, they're Sosif and Adrian Short has potential to be really, really good. We're just gonna have to see how it builds on it for them. My prediction for Mack County is gonna be another 5-4 year. You're gonna have wins against Cassville, Monette, Seneca, Central Kansas City, and East Newton, while their losses come to Lamar, Mount Vernon, Nevada, and Aurora. I know this is a team that could, in a lot of conferences would be one of the favorites. However, the grind of this new Big 8 conference is absolutely ridiculous. Moving on to the Monette Cubs, the team that I am most excited to see. Yes, you heard that right. An 0-10 team from a year ago is one of my teams that I'm most excited to see, because it's going to be a completely new system, new coach, Ben Mock, who is the son of Mike Mock. You may recognize that name from Glendale. And for you Mizzou fans, yes, that is Matty Mock's brother. So he's one of the most innovative offensive minds in all of football. He's won multiple state championships in Ohio. Got to play at Wake Forest and got to play under Brian Kelly at Cincinnati. So he is a very talented offensive mind. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does with the Cubs, because Monette struggled the last few years, but kind of the blessing and the curse of this Monette team is it's going to be a completely clean slate. They only returned 3 starters on each side of the ball. Danny Ugani, the senior offensive lineman, defensive lineman, then a couple of seniors, Landon Brandt and Aaron Soriano, who is wide receiver and defensive backs. It's a completely clean slate. Am I expecting Monette to go out and set the world on fire year one? Probably not. However, they have the offensive mind. Glendale had some very talented offenses. If you are able to run an offense kind of similarly to how that those Glendale squads were being run in the Big 8, you may sneak up on some teams and have a little bit of success, especially against that bottom to mid tier level of the Big 8. It's there for the taking for them. And then the last strength is just kind of the unknown advantage. And no, it's not like the advantage that nobody knows. It's the advantage that nobody knows what they're going to be, So it's going to be an intriguing group this season for the Monette Cubs. Questions: only returned 3 started on the side of the ball. And really, will Monette have the athletes to run Mock's offense? That's kind of the big thing. I'm not super familiar with their their JV ranks, but you're gonna have to see what they're gonna have to have athletes to be able to spread the field like they want. They're gonna come out 5 wide, running. There's not gonna be a lot of running the football. Are they gonna have a quarterback that's able to throw it? Be able to create a little bit of space. Running the ball, create those numbers advantages? And are they going to have people to catch the ball? That's going to be the question. Key to success, you're going to have to try to get the ball in space, let the athletes make plays. So we're going to have to see who those athletes are that steps up. It's going to be it could be a long season for the Cubs, but I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. Games to watch. August 13th. No, September 13th against Aurora. October 4th against East Newton, and October 18th at Cassville. I think those are several of their winnable games, but we will see. My predictions. I say I got a bold take to start. I have them winning at East Newton, which, by the way, I put in all these predictions before I saw East Newton in the Jamboree yesterday. We're getting to East Newton. I think some of these teams that I have East Newton losing to, I think they could become toss-up games. Monette's one of them. But I also had them going to Stratford week 2. The unknown advantage is going to play in their effect. I have them beating Stratford, winning 2 games, going 2-7. Losses in Nevada, Aurora, Seneca, Mack County, Lamar, Cassville, and Mount Vernon, 2-7 for the Monette Cubs. Moving on to the Nevada Tigers. 9-3 a year ago, district champ, made it to the state quarterfinals. And I mean, it was a magical year for Nevada. That was the group that continue to build, and then it was building towards that season. And they had a lot of success. 46-19 win over a 7-4 Reed Spring team. They 34-7 win over McDonald County. That was another quarterfinalist. They beat Mount Vernon 55-34 in one of the big shockers of the season. And then lost the season finale 40-36 against Seneca. But lost to Seneca, not the worst thing you could see. And then they played in a weird district up closer to Kansas City. They won their first round game against Grandview 43-0. Beat Carl Junction 33-13 before falling to Kearney in the quarterfinal round 35-0. Okay, more about these Nevada Tigers. Key returners, Kellen Braden, quarterback, was very good for the Tigers a year ago. 515 all-purpose yards, 7 touchdowns. But he was a game manager. He ran the offense well. Couple of all-area players returning. Grady Stewart, fullback defensive end, was all-area. Gabe Smith, starting running back, and Caden Klump, the tight end. But looking at some of their strengths for their returning quarterback, Kellen Braden, he's not going to wow you statistically. He's not going to wow you off the bus, but the kid is tough. He is a leader. He will do what it takes to win. And there's a lot to say about somebody like that. And they have a championship mentality. A lot of those guys played on last year's team that saw success. And now they're hungry. I think that could be a strength. Some of the questions: can Kellen Braden take that next step? That's the number one question about quarterbacks. Is they had some success last year. However, can they continue to improve? That's the question that I have about Kellen Braden. They lost a ton of production from last season, and they're gonna have to find out a way to replace the production of Jack Chaney from a year ago. But keys to success, you gotta allow Braden to flourish as a dual threat quarterback. He has the potential to be one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the entire state, as long as he's able to take that next step. Does he take that step? That's gonna be the question. And then pound the ball. Nevada, they ran the ball extremely efficiently a year ago, and I think they're going to have to continue to do that in order to be successful. Game to watch: September 6th at Aurora, October 11th against Cassville, and October 25th against Pleasant Hill. My predictions: I'm predicting wins over Monette, McDonald County, East Newton, Cassville, and Pleasant Hill, while I'm predicting losses against Aurora, Seneca, Lamar, and Mount Vernon for a 5-4 season. So we got 3 teams left. Let's go ahead and talk about one more here. Seneca, 13-1, state runner-up a year ago, had a tremendous season. They're going to be one of the more intriguing squads, here at this season, just because of what they lost. Jackson Mars was absolutely elite. Was an elite running back. I believe I saw he's playing ball at Missouri Southern this next year. Gavin Hoover was a tremendous quarterback for him a year ago. Ran the table in the regular season. Ran the table all the way to the state championship game before falling to Central Park Hills. And in all reality, none of the games were really that close. 28-14 win at Lamar, week 4. Their closest game of the season came in the season finale, 40-36 at Nevada, before just going on an absolute tear in the postseason. 48-0 against Cassville, 49-21 versus Mount Vernon in the district championship, 56-8 against an Ava team that I thought was poised for a state championship run. St. Pius X, out of Kansas City, 41-17, but then they fell to Central Park Hills, 34-48 in the state championship game. All right, returners. Their line was extremely good last year. Very, very, very good last year. You can't have a running back like Jax Mars do what he did without a tremendous offensive line. Well, also, not only is the starting 5 back, number 6 is back as well. 6 returning offensive linemen, including 2 all-state returners in Nolan Napier, senior and junior Jace Renfro. 2-way starters Dom Brown, Lane Schreibner, Diego Amaya, and Landon Commons, all returning defensive line starters, or in the rotation, I guess I should say, rotational players. And then Caden Klaus, defensive back, wide receiver. He was an all-state defensive back last year. Should come back for a tremendous season. Team strength, I don't gotta say it. I already said it. Offensive line. If you return 6 linemen that started for an already tremendous group a year ago, that's going to be a big plus to start. Defensive line. Defense pitched 5 shutouts last year, thanks in large part to this defensive line that is led by Nolan Napier and Jace Renfro. Those 2 all-staters that that are back for another go round. So those are a couple of big strengths. Their questions, of course, kind of the elephant in the room. Jax Mars was tremendous. Gavin Hoover was tremendous. How do you replace the production that they've had and what they meant to the team the last couple of years? That's what we're gonna have to figure out. And how do you combat just such a brutal schedule? I mean, this, as the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I'm convinced that you have 6 or 7 teams that can win the Big 8, and anyone could beat anybody on any given Friday night, and that's what makes football so much fun here. The key to success: you're gonna have to run the ball behind this experienced offensive line. Continue this run on defense. Their defensive line is going to have to continue to do what they've done for the last few years. But I think they got the pieces to do it. Games to watch. September the 6th against Mount Vernon, October 18th against East Newton, and September 25th against Lamar. My prediction for the Seneca Indians, 6-3. Cassville, Nevada, Monette, Aurora, Carl Junction, and East Newton all wins. The losses come to Mount Vernon, Lamar. Those two are probably the favorite in this conference. But then McDonald County, I think they have enough to poise just a little bit of a few issues for the Indians. I think they get knock off the Indians coming off of a big win against Carl Junction the week prior. Cassville and East Newton remain. Then we'll go through our predicted final standings, games to watch. We're going to step aside for just a minute, and we'll be right back on the Southwest Missouri Sports Big 8 preview. And we are back with our Big 8 preview show. Here, start kicking off the 2024 football season. We got two more teams to finish up with here, starting with the Cassville Wildcats, 6-5 a year ago, 22-19 win against Aurora, that we mentioned a couple times already, 42-0 win over Springfield Catholic, and a 44-21 loss against Nevada. Last year, a relatively successful year for the Wildcats, in a season that really wasn't sure what to expect, finishing with a district quarterfinal appearance, a win in districts over Aurora for I think the third straight year, it seems like. So the one thing that concerns me about this Cassville team this year is if you look at their wins, Hollister, 44-6, no longer in the conference. Aurora, still there. I think Aurora's going to be much improved. East Newton's still there. Springfield Catholic, no longer in the conference. So, yeah, I have to figure out those were two pretty solid wins. And Monette, I think, is going to be better this year. Now, do I think Cassville still beats them? You'll have to stick around and wait and see my predictions. So we'll have to figure that out. But returning for the Cassville Wildcats, Bodie Rose, quarterback. He's a 3-year starter, had 831 rush yards and 13 touchdowns a year ago. Kyle Bailey and Tristan Thompson's going to be doing most of the work in the backfield at running back and fullback respectively. Riley James, Colton Roark, catching the ball, receiver, going to play some defensive back as well. Ethan Sizemore, Isaac Looney, Gunnar Knight, and Isaac Pickett is going to be returning on the offensive line and defensive line. Isaiah Pickett was an all-conference defensive lineman a year ago, so I would expect him to continue to have a fantastic come back for a tremendous senior year. Team strengths, experience at key positions. At quarterback, we talked about it. Experience at quarterback is one of the most important things you can have. A 3-year starter at quarterback is almost unheard of in this day and age. And then a solid rushing attack coming back is going to be another big strength for this squad. Question, however, how will they be able to handle this brutal schedule? The Big 8 is no joke. I've said it, this entire preview. It's going to be a very, 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 very tough, schedule go around for them. So it's a matter of seeing how they are able to handle that schedule. Key to success: run behind Bodie Rose. Run behind Bodie Rose. 831 rushing yards a year ago, 13 touchdowns. Let him continue to eat. If he has, the Wildcats are going to go as he goes. If they unleash him as one of the best dual threat options in this conference, he's going to be very successful. Take care of the football. Cassville's in a position where they're going to have to win. They're not going to be able to overcome a lot of mistakes on the off, or handing the ball over to the defense and just come ready to play every week. It's a grueling schedule. However, if you come ready to play every single week, I bet you're going to be able to get a game or two that maybe you weren't expected to. So come ready to play and see what happens. Games to watch: September the 13th against East Newton, September 18th versus Monette, and that rivalry game 10-25 at Aurora. I've got the Cassville Wildcats clocking in at 3-6 this season, wins over East Newton, which I think is becoming more and more of a toss-up game. We're getting to East Newton net here to close off the team previews. but I think they're going to be much improved this season. At Harrisonville and against Monette, those going to be their 3 wins. Seneca, Matt County, Lamar, Mount Vernon, Nevada, Aurora. I mean, those are 5 teams that most of the area would lose to, especially given this schedule. So I put them at 3-6 this season. East Newton. This is gonna be. They were 2-8 a year ago. Sorry about that. 2-8 a year ago with wins against Hollister and Monette, and interestingly, I say tight, a 28-0 loss against Lamar. That was their closest game that they ended up losing of the season. So I mean, and coming against Lamar, I mean that's kind of interesting. Weird stat. Will Eichelberger returns after nearly eclipsing the 1,000 total yard mark at quarterback a year ago. He's also going to be a starter on the defensive backfield. And then to go along with him in the backfield, River Inlow is your starting running back, all conference selection a year ago, 879 yards. Braxton Wolf, all conference on both sides of the field, wide receiver and free safety, 454 yards. And adding to the wide receiver room, Caden Youngblood and Caden Larson is going to be both wide receiver defensive backs. And then they're going to bring back several pieces on the offensive and defensive line. Will Earl, Ian Dover, Leighton Pilcher, and Darian Moore, minus Ian Dover, offensive line, defensive line pieces. Ian Dover and Alan McFarland, both returning starting offensive linemen and linebackers. So they bring back a lot of experience on the offensive line, on the defensive line. We'll have to see how what they continue to do with those pieces. Team strengths. You're gonna have key returners on offense: quarterback, running back, 3 receivers, 4 offensive linemen that started last year. I think that's gonna be a big jump for East Newton moving forward. The question is, are they going to be able to take that next step? They after a 2-win season last year, and the schedule not doing them any favors again this year, they're going to have to, really continue to improve and take that next step. Key to success: constant improvement. Take it one game at a time. Got a winnable one week 1 against Springfield Catholic. Got to win that one and build off of it. And then see where it takes you. Games to watch. I just mentioned that August 30th game against Springfield Catholic. Week 1, week 3 they'll go to Cassville and then Monette to open up their October slate. Prediction. I have them defeating Springfield Catholic in the opener, which is now going to be a non-conference game. But then I had them fall into Lamar, Cassville, Mount Vernon, Nevada, Monette, Aurora, Seneca, and McDonald County, finishing the season at 1-8. All right, that is our team previews. I know there's a lot of information there. Really quick, I try to do my best of giving everybody a little bit of time there, but we are sitting at I'm not sure how exactly how long we're going right now. A little over an hour right as of right now, so we're gonna try to wrap this up here pretty quick here. But let's start before we go through our predicted final standings, our conference games to watch. Week number one game to watch is going to be week 5, Mount Vernon at Lamar. I think that's going to decide the conference, and that's going to do a lot in with district seedings as well. Mount Vernon's going to be Class 3, Lamar's going to be Class 2. This could very easily be two state champions doing battle here week 5 of the season. Mount Vernon, you got the number 1 and number 2 most important games of this conference slate. As week 1, Aurora at Mount Vernon. I think that this is going to be a sneaky good game. I think a lot of people are writing Aurora off, including some Aurora people. But I think they're going to be very, very much improved. Year 3 under Coach Pitt. I think they're going to give Mount Vernon a little bit of trouble early, but I think, as I said earlier, I think they're going to give, end up running away with it. They're late. Up next, week 9, Lamar at Seneca. Lamar and Seneca, 2 of the top 3 teams from last season. I think it's going to be, both of these teams played for a state championship. Lamar won it. Seneca did not. And this is going to be just another classic matchup here, late in the season, last week of the season. Week before that, Monette at Cassville. This might not have the most implications in terms of conference standings, but it's going to be a big game in terms of, rivalry. Monette, Cassville, they already have a great rivalry anyway. However, just building off that, I think Monette's gonna be much improved. Cassville, we're gonna have to see what they're like. I think they have the pieces to be solid. We're just gonna have to see. And then week 4, Nevada at McDonald County. I think that's gonna be a good Joplin area former Big 8 West matchup that I think is gonna be a lot of fun here. Predicted final standings. I know this is what you are been waiting for. Starting at the bottom, East Newton rounding things off at 1-8. Monette at 2-7. 3-6 goes Cassville. McDonald County and Nevada are gonna both finish at 5-4, but Nevada is gonna knock off McDonald County to get that tiebreaker for the 5th spot. Seneca comes in number 4 at 6-3. Aurora just shoots up the standings at 7-2. And then that week, week 5 game, Lamar and Mount Vernon is going to decide the Big 8 championship. Mount Vernon's gonna do it. 9-0. Mount Vernon's gonna be your conference champion. However, Lamar may end up being your state champion out of this conference. So there you have it. There's my predicted final standings. It's our Big 8 preview. We're gonna continue to knock these out. I know we have the obviously this is the Big 8 that we just wrapped up here. I had the mid-late stuff locked and loaded, ready to roll. We got the COC stuff coming out. We're going to talk some Southwest Conference. I think that's going to be one of the more fun conferences in the area. And if time permits, we're going to be racing up against the clock. I want to also talk some Ozark Mountain Conference and maybe even some Summit Conference stuff down east of Springfield. However, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, whether it's for 5 minutes or for the whole hour and 12 minutes that we've been on here. I just want to thank you guys for your support. And until next time, we'll see you at a field or gym near you.